This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 240, baby. Oh yeah. In today's episode, I speak to Dan the Man. The legend is back and we speak about how to move country because we both have some big news. Our lives are changing. We are both moving country again. Dan the Man is leaving France and it's almost difficult for me to say these words, but I am leaving Italy. You will find out more about this in the episode. But talking about me leaving Italy, some other life news that you may or may not be aware of. I recently quit my job, okay? I no longer teach at a school. I actually quit my job when baby R&R was born so I could spend more time at home. So I work totally online now, and more specifically, I work totally for Rock and Roll English. And even more specific than that, I work totally for the Rock and Roll English family. The Rock and Roll English family is my life now because Mrs. R&R and baby R&R are also obviously included in the Rock and Roll English family. But so are members from Brazil, Argentina, Russia, Spain, Poland, Vietnam, Latvia, Belarus, Ukraine, Slovakia, Germany, and many more countries. Now, in the past, the Rock and Roll English family was just podcasts. Now, it's group lessons, individual lessons with me, writing tasks, and feedback on the writing from me, book clubs, recording a podcast with me, and so much more, such as the 600 extra episodes, plus transcripts, Facebook Lives, video lessons, the list goes on and on. But it is for people that are upper intermediate speakers of English who want to reach an advanced level. So if that is you and you enjoy Rock and Roll English, the family area is for you. Now, membership is not actually officially open because, like usual, I have some technical problems and I can't actually open the membership. But when it opens, which will now be next Monday, hopefully, it will cost €25 a month. But if you simply send me an email now and say, I want to join the family, I will put your name on a list and you will pay only €20 a month, okay? Which was the price, but the price keeps going up because I add more and more things. But if you join now, you will never pay more than 20. And as an additional bonus, you will have an extra individual lesson with me. Normally this is after 3 months, but if you join now, this is an extra bonus you will have now. So just send an email to Martin at Rock and Roll English and say, hi, I want to join the family, and you will never pay more than €20 a month. And remember, this is for people that are an upper intermediate speaker of English and want to reach an advanced level, okay? I will also be doing some special podcasts this week where I will tell you an R&R story every day, okay? Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Here is the conversation with Dan the Man. Happy listening. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Always fantastic, Dan. Always fantastic. Even more fantastic now I am talking to you, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Dan, it's been a while since you've been on the show. I don't know how long, but how do we usually start the show?
With a review.
Do you think we have a review?
Yeah.
I can see just how happy you were that I asked you that question.
Well, yeah. Have you got a review?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've already read this. I went on iTunes recently because they're much more difficult for me to see. And I did find one, and it says, astonishingly pleasant, which I think is a lovely play of words there, and it's by Fiofra. It's from the 25th of July, so obviously a bit of time has passed, just proof that I don't often see these, and it says, Martin really rocks, 3 exclamation marks. I really love listening to these podcasts as they are funny, entertaining, and with real English. Thanks, Martin, for the way you run your teaching. So thank you very much for that, Philfra. So no mention of you, Dan, but in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 reviews, you have had a big mention. It just so happens when you're on the show, there is no mention of you. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, okay? It's the way things go.
That's funny. I bet you're choosing these carefully, aren't you? You're timing them.
Honestly, I actually am not, okay? The thing is with reviews, as you know, beggars can't be choosers, okay? And so I'll take anything, okay? And I read them when they come, okay? I would never do that.
Although that one arrived 4 months ago.
I read them when I see them, okay? Let's change it. Okay, on to today's show. So I have actually told you what we're talking about, Dan, because both of us have some news, I suppose, don't we?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So both of us, well, I'll do it together, okay? Are moving country again. So Dan the Man is on the move.
Not together.
So Dan the Man is leaving Mrs. Dan the Man. I'm leaving Mrs. R&R. And then we're going to start a new life happily ever after. Hey, Dan.
Yeah. And we're very happy.
And that's the news. Yeah, not together. Dan the Man is on the move, moving to Denmark, aren't you?
Yep.
Which is where Mrs. Dan the Man's from. And I'm moving to a small place called England, okay? Because Mrs. R&R has got a job there. So I thought we could talk about moving country, okay? We've both been there before, okay? We've both done this. Obviously, I'm going back to the homelands now, we could call it. I kind of feel like I've done my time abroad, Dan, okay? And
like a prison sentence.
Well, I wouldn't say more like a prison, more like a war hero, okay? So
yeah, I think that as well, yeah.
I think I'm expecting, of course, when I come back, like a hero's reception at the airport, something like Beatlemania, I suppose. You know, when they landed in America and there were thousands of people there.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's going to be exactly the same situation for me. A bit more difficult these days with airport security. Hey, it didn't look like there was much security during Beatlemania in the airports, did it?
I don't know. I didn't really watch it.
I mean, obviously it was before our time, Dan, but have you heard of YouTube?
What, you Google Beatlemania on YouTube?
I actually did.
Oh, really?
Actually did. Anyway, so I thought we could talk about moving country, okay? Things you need to do before and when you're there, okay? And, you know, we're experts, Dan. We've done this once before, okay? So the first one is apply for a visa, okay? Obviously now with Brexit makes things more difficult. Obviously, I'm going back to the country I'm from, but you, Dan, you're just another illegal immigrant, you know, going over there, stealing people's jobs.
Yeah. I don't actually know what I'm going to do about that, to be honest.
Yeah, probably should have thought about this before, but whatever.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be okay. I'll find a solution.
Okay, that, you know, the advice is apply for a visa, or you can follow Dan the Man's advice of just, I think it will be okay. And there you go. That's fine. I went to Rome recently with Mrs. R&R to get her a visa because obviously now, because of Brexit, she's the illegal immigrant. I should have just said...
A visa for working.
Yeah.
Clarify that.
I should have just said, I think it will be okay. And that will be fine. But that thing I was thinking of, like, that people talk about immigrants and say they come over here and steal our jobs. I'm pretty sure they say that everywhere, don't they?
But do you actually know anyone who says that? I don't think I've ever met anyone who said that.
No. Well, that's a good point, actually. But then again, I try to avoid idiots. Okay? So that might be why I've never heard anyone actually say
that. Well, I'm surrounded by them and I've never heard it. So...
Yeah. Sure. You've never asked yourself if you're the idiot, Dan?
Yeah, at some point you're looking around the room. You come back to yourself.
You have to at some point. Exactly. Okay, so the next one is connected to stuff. Okay, like what are you going to do with stuff? Like ship it, storage, sell it. You know, there are lots of options. I'm actually still...
You're actually looking for solutions here. You're asking that not as a question, but rather as, can you help me? Well, I'm in the same problem.
You're in the same problem or in the same boat?
I have the same problem. Same
problem, sure. But anyway, so talking about solutions, okay? So to give you an idea of how desperate we are, so Mrs. R&R, her cousins have, like, they've got some land, they make some grapes, and they do all this like agriculture kind of stuff. And they have a lorry, okay?
Problem solved.
Oh, exactly. One of them said to me, "Why don't you drive the lorry?" And I thought...
Is it an actual lorry, or is it just a big van?
I would say it was a massive van. It's as close to a lorry as you will ever see, okay?
Oh, really?
And I just thought, could you imagine me driving a lorry?
Don't you need licenses for that?
Also, I mean, again, I might just use your tactic of, I think it will be okay. I'm more worried about just being... Even like, you know, I just imagine stopping at a service station, which, remember, is the place where you like go to the toilet and stuff, and having to talk to other lorry drivers. Just, I don't think I would fit in. So I don't think I would, you know, it's not my type of people, let's say.
Nothing wrong with lorry drivers. He's not saying that.
Yeah, nothing against lorry drivers. I just don't feel I'm manly enough to drive a lorry. That's all I'm worried about.
Well, maybe if you did it, you'd become a man.
Yeah, sure. Or die. Either of those two options. I would suggest the latter, so the second of dying. The last time I moved, because I have done this before, when I left Rome, actually, I just gave a lot of stuff away because you kind of feel bad. Like if you have a fan, a really nice fan that cost maybe €60, you kind of feel bad to say to a friend, like, give me €10. So I just gave it away. Mm-hmm. But then years later, I then thought, I want that back. But then it's difficult to ask, isn't it? It's difficult to say, that thing I gave you 5 years ago, can I have that back now?
Why didn't you just sell it? Not to a friend, someone else.
It's hassle, isn't it? It's like difficult you have to put it on the internet. You have to meet someone you don't know. They come to your house.
We don't have to meet them. You just see them. It's not like you go for a drink with them and have a tea and say.
They have to inspect it, don't they? If I'm selling you something, you want to look at it. You have to come into my house. A lot of
meet them in a public place.
I mean, if I want to sell them my bed, how am I going to do that?
Well, does anyone want to buy your bed? I mean,
I think it will go in a museum, Dan. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And speaking of moving, actually, because I obviously the listeners can't see this because this is an audio thing, but I can see you've still got your Christmas lights up, Dan. Are you going to bring them with you to Denmark?
They're not my Christmas lights. They're Mrs. Dan the man's Christmas lights, and she'll probably be listening to this. So if there's something you want to say about the Christmas lights, say it now, Martin.
I mean, they are great Christmas lights. The only problem is it's August. Or maybe it's not August, it's fucking October. Or actually, yeah, just getting ready for Christmas, I suppose.
Well, they're not Christmas lights. They're, I think I've been told the technical term is fairy lights.
That's the technical term, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sure. That's what the doctors are saying.
That's the term all the lorry drivers use.
Yeah. Got the old fairy lights up, sure. Yeah. Okay, so this is now connected to when you arrive, okay? Mm-hmm. Quite simple. It says, don't rub people up the wrong way. A lovely term there to say basically don't annoy people. Okay, so be nice to everyone. And I've actually seen that you have done this in France, Dan. Just in our pre-podcast chat, a cat entered Dan the man's house and he told me it was his neighbour's cat. So you just let your neighbour's cat enter your house?
Well, it sits outside the door and meows until I let it in. So I thought every day.
I mean, that is a nice thing to do. Honestly, if my neighbour said, can my cat come into your house?
The neighbour hasn't asked me. The cat has done it on its own choice.
The cat asked me.
Yeah.
But is that not weird of letting someone's cat in your house? Like, I'm just imagining this. I mean, this sounds wrong, but if a child just wanted to come to my house and I just let
let's
this
not
child
let's not
in,
compare it to me letting children into my apartment.
sure, Dan, it starts with a cat, but who knows where this is going to finish, hey?
Honestly, this cat doesn't stop unless I let it in, and then I let it in, and then it starts meowing until I open a door in the apartment, and then it has to go in and have a look around. It does it every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
I mean, you're not forced to let this cat in your house, though.
It will not stop meowing. Honestly, it's non-stop.
Got no choice. It's like someone having a gun to your head when a cat meows, okay? Outside your door.
Exactly.
As well, obviously, Dan the man at the moment lives in France, and he told me the name of the cat is Ross, which is a very French name, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Ross. Little Ross. Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, he's all right, is he? Okay, good. Speaking of neighbours, though, and not rubbing people up the wrong way, I had a bit of a shock this morning, actually, Dan. I went down to throw out the rubbish, and on the doormat, right in front of the door to the building, there was the head of a bird, okay? Just the head of a bird. And first of all, it was absolute disgusting. So I managed to get rid of it. And then I told Mrs. R&R about this. And the first thing she said was, do you think it's a threat? And someone is like sending us a message. And then I started thinking, who have I rubbed up the wrong way? Like,
it's a strange threat, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but still quite intimidating. And I was thinking, I literally never go out. I don't know how I've offended anyone, because I literally never go out now. The only thing I could think of was I changed hairdresser. And the hairdresser that I used to go to like a year ago sometimes sees me. It's a bit embarrassing because...
That is the worst feeling in the world, is when you see your old hairdresser and you've got a sharp new haircut. Well, you've never had that, but,
A lovely expression there, sharp new haircut. When someone looks sharp, it's kind of like looking like James Bond, let's say. Yeah, but still, it's still embarrassing. I'm not sure if it's the worst feeling in the world, though, Dan.
Well, it's close. Obviously, it's not the worst in the world, but it's not a nice feeling, is it? You feel like you've cheated on your hairdresser.
It's definitely close to one of the worst feelings in the world. It's definitely close to like losing a loved one or something like that. Hey.
Yeah, maybe not that bad. But actually, talking about you found that animal outside your apartment. I went to Barcelona recently, and when I came back, it was an absolutely terrible journey home, and all through the night, got home exhausted, got to the apartment, and then at the bottom of the stairwell was a rat the size of a shoebox that had been killed, I presume by Ross the cat, but it was it was disgusting.
Again, when you said Ross, I thought there was just someone in your building, just like a cat killer, a rat killer. But yeah, I forgot about Ross the cat. I mean, how big is Ross? Because, rats...
The rat couldn't have been much smaller than him.
Right.
But he took this fucker down.
Lovely expression there. When you take someone down, it's when you win in a fight. Dan the man added the term, took the fucker down, obviously, there. The fucker being the rat, I imagine. But yeah, wow, that must have been quite a fight.
I know, it was disgusting, though. I mean, it was horrific to look at.
Yeah. It was also horrific to see this bird's head on my doorstep. Although I'm pretty sure it's probably just a cat. Maybe Ross. Maybe Ross came over to Sicily.
He'll kill anything.
Bloody Ross is everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so another one here it says, don't forget about the people at home. Obviously, you're moving to a new country, but don't forget about the people at home. Obviously, we have social media. To stay in contact with people. And speaking of this, something amazing happened to me on social media the other day. As I said, I went to Rome. I put a picture on so it was me, Mrs. R&R, baby R&R, and I got a like from Dan the man. The first time I think you've ever liked one of my pictures. I couldn't believe it, Dan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, as I did the like, I thought, I wonder if he's going to see this. I thought there's no way he goes and watches every like he gets. But it turns out, no, you are a loser and you do look at the likes.
Well, I don't look at all of them, but when I saw Dan the Man, I can even imagine you looking at that thinking, I do like that picture, but shall I give him a like? Shall I even give him that much satisfaction?
I think I did, actually. I think I did.
Yeah, to really analyse it. Can you imagine? You probably even probably thought, you know what, I'll have to sleep on this. So when you have to sleep on something, you don't decide immediately because it's a big decision, and then you wake up in the morning. So I'm sure you saw the picture.
No, I did it straight away. Was there a single tear roll down your cheek when you saw the light come through? Did you think, this is special?
Well, the tears, plural, Dan, of joy. Okay. That's all I can say. Okay, so it says here, making friends in a new country is tough. So you have to put in the work. A nice phrasal verb there. Put in the work. So you've been in France, I think, 4 or 5 years, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
How many friends have you made?
Some friends. But I've actually made more friends in the past 4 weeks than I think I have in 4 years here. That's
because you're leaving now, Dan, and everyone's just trying to be nice to you now.
It's not that. It's because Mrs. Dan the Man's in Denmark. And I'm bored out of my mind here. I'm having to go out more and just sort of, and that's why basically.
Right. Okay. Making lots of friends. Ross the cat, lots of other friends as well.
Ben the rat. Well, he's no longer with us.
So, actually, how long has Ross been coming into your house? Just since Mrs. Dan the Man's been away?
No, he started coming just before that.
Right.
And then I think he knows I'm on my own now.
I'm
like an old lady. He comes and visits me just to check in I'm okay.
A quick question. Does Mrs. Dan the Man know about Ross? Does she know about this?
She does know about Ross, yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, so another one here, very important, is learn the language, okay? So you finally, I believe, from what I understand, got to a decent level in French, and it's starting from zero again, Dan. How does that make you feel?
Not good, because I've started to try and learn Danish. The grammar, fortunately, is extremely easy. The problem is the pronunciation is horrific, and I've been taking these sort of...
Horrific. Just in case there are any Danish people listening.
Oh, they know it. They know it.
They
know it.
They will be the first to say it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they are. And every time I mention it to them, they just sort of quietly nod their head. They know. They know the situation.
You will be that typical English person making everyone speak English.
No. I made that mistake when I arrived in France. So I'm actually taking lessons in Danish now.
Right.
Specifically pronunciation lessons, because I'm fairly sure I can learn it if I just know how to say the sounds. But it's so difficult.
Obviously, for me, it's going to be difficult moving to England as well. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to learn some words that have more than 2 syllables. So, let's...
Good
Let's
luck
hope.
with that.
Yeah, thanks. So another one is an important one is secure employment. Okay, and Dan the Man, as a freelance human being,
never. You're a freelance human being now as well, aren't you?
You know what? That's exactly right. Because
how do you feel?
Pretty worried actually, especially because if you work for yourself. I think people just consider that as you haven't really got a job, especially if you work from home. Like even now, so I say things to like Mrs. R&R, and like even some of her family sometimes say, "Oh, well, Martin can do that," and be like, and I said, "No, I have to work," but he works from home. Like that's not a job.
Yeah, exactly. But the benefits are, you can work. You can work in your pants. Wherever your pants are, you can work. That's how I like to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good rule. A good rule to have. As long as you've got pants on, you can work. Okay.
Let's have a meeting.
And another personal question I'm going to ask you, Dan, but I want to ask: when Ross comes into the apartment, do you have your pants on?
Always. Always.
Sure, you do, Dan. Sure. Right, okay. I mean, I think we've covered everything about moving to a new country. So the last thing to do before you move is throw a goodbye party. Notice the term there, throw a party.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be doing that, Dan?
Highly unlikely.
I mean, you've got all these new friends now. They all want to say goodbye to you.
I would never invite them around here.
I mean, we're friends, but God, I would never invite them to my house.
Yeah, but why? There's so many great bars here, I don't have to do them
Right.
tidying up the next day,
That's the thing, isn't it?
I like house parties if it's not my house party,
I'm totally with you on that. That's the most intelligent thing you've ever said. House parties are great as long as it's not yours. That's the thing.
That's the takeaway from the episode, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Also, like you, Dan, I will not be throwing a party. Also, because I don't think anyone would come, which would be embarrassing. And also, I'm a bit worried that after like 6 months, I'll come back and then people will be like, we had a fucking goodbye party and you're back again.
They didn't even realise you left.
Yeah, and then, if you come back, do you need a welcome party? Just avoid it.
Do you think you might come back?
Never say never. I have left Italy before and then came back. So you never know, Dan. Never say never. You might be back in France as well. You might be reunited with Ross.
Oh, I'd love to come back to France. And Ross, especially.
When you said that, because I could feel the excitement in your voice there. I would love to. I really did think you were going to say, I would love to spend some time with Ross again.
I've never really liked cats. This is the one cat I think I've got a bond with.
Right. Okay.
I'll send you a video later of him meowing trying to get in.
Oh, please don't. If there's fucking one thing I hate, it's people sending me pictures and videos of animals. Okay, so please don't. Okay?
I'll send you the video. Don't worry.
Great. Can't wait. Okay, a pleasure as always, Dan.
Yeah, speak to you later.
Speak to you later. Bye-bye. So that was Dan the Man and me speaking about moving country. And yes, he did actually send me a video of the cat, which I will put in the Rock and Roll English family group today, just so members can see. Anyway, let's have a look at the R&R vocab from today. At the beginning of the episode, I said to Dan, it just so happens that when you're on the show, your name is not mentioned in a review. Now, this term, it just so happens that. Obviously easy to understand, but a lovely, lovely term. We had, I would not fit in with lorry drivers. I would not be comfortable with them. We had the word hassle as well when I mentioned selling things. It's hassle, it's difficult, it's time consuming, it's annoying. We had the term as well, don't rub people up the wrong way. Don't annoy people. The term sharp as well, when Dan said a sharp new haircut. You can also look sharp. As I mentioned, when I think of someone looking sharp, I think of James Bond, like a perfect haircut, perfect suit. That's when you look sharp. We had take someone down when we spoke about Ross the cat taking down Ben the rat. We had the term sleep on something. So when you sleep on it, you have to think about it. We had the term put in the work, so do the work. Dan also used a nice term when he said that he has been bored out of his mind without Mrs. Dan the Man. And last but not least, throw a party, to have a party, to throw a party. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember, if you would like to join the Rock and Roll English family at a lower price, please send an email to martin@rockandrollenglish.com. I will actually see you again tomorrow, but in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.